Okay, now you...
Garrick Taylor here with Glenn Hammer. Glenn, as the CEO of the Chamber, this is a big day. You did a lot of work on this, so did the Chamber.
We all did a lot of work on this. This is a huge day for Arizona, the United States of America, for all of North America, and for the free world that loves to trade. For the USMCA agreement to pass the United States House of Representatives by a vote of 385 to 41 is really a big deal.
Throughout the whole process, as the Chamber was calling for a vote on this and really the broader business community, we were urging a broad bipartisan vote on this. That's what we got.
This is about as broad as it gets when you think about it. I mean, you had overwhelming majorities in both parties, and in fact, for a bit of history, this is the widest margin of victory for a free trade agreement in the history of the United States, except for one, the very first one with the United States and Israel in 1985. So that's a pretty big deal.
So when things really started to roll, we were getting to the final round of negotiations. A point that you had been making, in fact, even early on, was that Arizona, back in the NAFTA vote, the delegation was united, Republicans and Democrats. You really wanted to make sure we got that again. So what happened?
Well, that was really important. You're right, Garrick. When it first moved forward in the early 1990s, it was a bipartisan, unanimous vote. And I'll just say this is particularly meaningful for me, because my first stop in Arizona politics was as a congressional fellow, he says intern, with Congressman Jim Colby. Mr. NAFTA.
One of the all-time greats.
One of the all-time greats, one of the all-time great members of Congress, certainly one of probably the top 10 members in the last 100 years when it comes to trade. And, we thought it was very important for the state of Arizona to maintain that type of record. And I just want to particularly thank Governor Doug Ducey for really making this a major league item and being sort of the umbrella with the Arizona-Mexico Commission and Juan Ciscomani and its president Jessica Pacheco and Luis Ramirez, and really rallying the congressional delegation and the business community and the political community, our mayors all over the state, to get behind this agreement, which, Garrick, as both of us know in this beautiful report that I bring with me all over the planet, demonstrates.
It's your favorite prop.
This is my favorite prop. I love it. I feel uneasy without it anywhere in the world, which is 100% true. We've identified 228,000 jobs today that are directly tied with trade with Mexico and Canada. Our two top trading partners, and by far our two top export markets.
I want to talk about the role that certain members of the delegation played in all of this, but I just want you to finish your thought about Governor Ducey, because he didn't get a vote in all of this, but he wasn't quiet.
No, he wasn't quiet. He really understood how important trade with Mexico and Canada is to the Arizona economy. We know in some years the difference between Arizona growing and shrinking has been our trading relationship with both countries. So Governor Ducey took this on the road. I mean, whatever national governors organizations he's been part of, he's been very aggressive. He put together a very special website that had information on all 50 states where members of Congress stood. And then it was really one of the neat things for me. He did a fireside chat with Ambassador Robert Lighthizer, moderated by the new president of the U.S. Chamber, to discuss the benefits of the USMCA before the top 100 chamber leaders in America in September in Washington, D.C. And that was really an important point, because that was still a point in time where it wasn't quite sure how things were going to turn out. And what Governor Ducey did and Ambassador Lighthizer, they really energized top chamber leaders across the country to get in the trenches and to visit with their members of Congress. And I really believe that made a significant difference.
Let me ask you about the delegation. You called out a few people specifically today. Congressman Stanton, member of the Democratic caucus, he did a lot of work within the caucus, but it really built on his legacy as the former mayor of Phoenix.
Yeah, I truly believe without Congressman Greg Stanton, and I call him a so-called freshman. He is a freshman, but he served with great distinction as mayor of Phoenix. He did 18 trade missions to Mexico. I was on a few of those, and I'll just say that he always handled himself with incredible dignity. and he found great areas where Mexico and Arizona could cooperate. Mm-hmm. So it's no accident that our relationship in exports, in academia, in culture,
right,
in nonstop flights, all of these areas have improved as in part because of the work of Congressman Greg Stanton. Now, what did Congressman Greg Stanton did? Before it was cool, he publicly communicated to Speaker Pelosi with only about 14 or so.
Yeah, it's about a 14-member signature,
Democrats
signatories,
saying, Speaker Pelosi, we need to get a deal. We need to bring this up for a vote. And he did a very important teletown hall with thousands of Arizonans listening,
right,
with Governor Ducey, bipartisan group, to talk about the importance of USMCA. And he was able to talk with great authority. And you take a look at industries like tourism. This isn't a nice to have for the tourism industry. It's a must have. Our friends from Mexico every single day spend $7.5 million staying in our hotels, eating in our restaurants, shopping in our great stores. So I just want to particularly thank Congressman Greg Stanton for his extraordinary leadership, and I'm very grateful.
And just to close the loop on that, not for nothing, I think that's one of the reasons why you saw the business community so vocal in its desire to make sure that the trade offices from the city stay open in Mexico.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the trade offices from Phoenix and Hermosillo and Mexico City were putting a lot of points on the board. Mm-hmm. And I also want to say the state offices managed by the Arizona Commerce Authority have also been very effective. Thank God those offices remain open, particularly now that we're at a point in time where the trade relationship is going to reach an even higher level with USMCA because of some of the new additions on e-commerce and digital trade and things like that.
I want to talk to you about another member of the delegation, but I know a lot of our viewers read Hotelier magazine. But you were on the cover with the leader of the tourism industry here, Kim Sabo, making this point. If you're in the tourism industry, you should care about this.
Well, for the tourism industry, this is a huge deal. I mean, we know, and it's not just a Phoenix or Tucson thing. This is all over the state. I'm always amazed when I go up north in terms of how important the visitors from Mexico are to the state's tourism economy up north. So, and we also, we also know that on the retail side, for some of our border communities, 60 to 75% of sales tax revenues come from visitors from Mexico. So, I want to point out and give particular kudos to a couple of people, though, in the tourism industry. Kim Sabo, who I had the opportunity to appear on the cover. I don't know how to shut off my phone.
I think you're good. All right, okay. You're back.
So Kim Sabo, who I was on the magazine with, I want to also call out my good friend Maria Lourdes Delgado from Visit Phoenix. She's been a leader, one of my mentors when it has come to understanding the trading relationship between Arizona and Mexico. And I was with, it was really a great experience on sort of the eve of NAFTA rewrite, the USMCA. I was with Kim and Maria, Jaime Malera, and the Phoenix Suns, Ruben Alvarez, and some others in Mexico City for the Suns' return to Mexico City. And while they came up a little bit short, I will tell you that
bad referees.
The fans in Mexico City, they love the Suns. They love NBA, and we have to keep in mind that our sports and our tourism industries, these are export industries, and 95% of the world lives outside the United States. And for a border state like Arizona, an agreement like the USMCA, take it to the bank, is going to mean more tourists. My final point, and I always love saying this, as someone, we both spent some time in the federal system, not in prison, in working on Capitol Hill, which was a while back. But the closest world capital to Phoenix is Mexico City. Right. It's a very quick 2-hour, 45-minute flight, and we're excited that now that USMCA is on the road to passage, that there's going to be more activity.
Final thought on our delegation. Arizona has a member of the powerful House Ways and Means Committee. Talk about that individual and why it was so important that we had a voice there.
Well, I'm very proud of my own personal member of Congress, David Schweikert. He fought very hard from day one to raise the de minimis standards. And really what that means is that small businesses, small and medium businesses, are going to be able to sell into both Mexico and Canada with much less or no red tape at higher levels. This is really a big deal, and it's an even bigger deal given that Arizona has been a leader in unified cargo processing. I believe we're the only state that has that for rail, trucking, and now for air cargo.
Direct shipments.
From Phoenix Gateway Airport.
Yep.
And I want to also call out, I mentioned Governor Ducey. I feel it would be, it's important to give props also to Mayor Giles, who's really taken, on the mayoral side, has really taken the baton from former Mayor Stanton and has been a great leader and ambassador for the entire state of Arizona when it comes to trade with Mexico and the USMCA agreement in particular.
Next stop, U.S. Senate. You expect a similar outcome, I assume?
This is, I don't want to put a hex on anything, but it should be a slam dunk. This should be a very, very wide margin, at least the same sort of percentage as in the House. I will point out that our friends in Mexico passed the USMCA. They call it TEMEC in Mexico. Their Senate ratified it by a vote of 107 to 1. There was only one person. We're not going to get quite that same margin, but it'll be very close. And I'm glad to say, just the way we got a clean sweep in the U.S. House of Representatives, all 9 Republicans, Democrats came together. We have one Republican and one Democrat. Our senior senator, Senator Sinema, and Senator McSally, both support the agreement. And so I expect that this will pass with a very healthy margin in the Senate.
There's some other activity that's going on in the Senate, but Chairman Grassley says once we get past that, it's just a couple of weeks and we'll put this baby to bed.
And Garrick, it's so important to put this baby to bed. The North American Free Trade Zone, it's $1.3 trillion of trade. It is the largest free trade bloc on the planet. While things are improving with China, and that's good news, we have a phase 1 deal, they certainly are far from resolved. And with this new trade agreement ready to take effect, with modernizing digital, e-commerce, and having some very important model language on things like currency manipulation, this strengthens our hand in terms of our negotiations with China. So it's one of the many sort of side benefits of this agreement now really being on the path to ratification.
Look, like you said, we don't want to jinx it. We're probably a few weeks away from really wrapping this up, but you spent a lot of time dealing with or talking with lawmakers and administrative officials both in the U.S. and Mexico. So congratulations. This is over a year's worth of work, and looks like we're headed to a very good resolution.
Well, thank you, Garrick. There's no one in the business who does a better job of writing about trade and USMCA than you are. You're the true expert in this office.
I don't know about that.
And I just my final comment. I really want to call out Ambassador Robert Lighthizer. President Trump deserves big kudos for appointing Ambassador Lighthizer to this critical role. We had a meeting with Ambassador Lighthizer with a group of Arizona business leaders about 2 years ago. Ambassador Lighthizer made a few comments. He said, I want an agreement that's going to get over 70 votes in the Senate, and I want an agreement that's going to be endorsed by both the President and CEO of the U.S. Chamber and the President of the AFL-CIO. And there were a few skeptics in that room, but that's exactly what happened. And to see this marvelous result of Republicans and Democrats coming together and passing a rewrite of a very important trade agreement gives me and the Arizona Chamber great hope and optimism that we're going to get other great deals, whether it's with Japan or now with the UK, with them going to obviously now break out.
They're kind of a free agent.
They're a free agent. So Garrick, this is the beginning of something I believe that will be very, very big in terms of improving and solidifying the trading arrangement with the United States and other countries.
I agree. All right, well, let's do it again in a month when we take that Senate vote, and I hope everybody has a great new year.
Thank you.